What's up guys, how's it going? It's Joe here. It's another episode of British Guy Reacts, and today we got quite an interesting video. This one is titled, Why More People Go to MLB Games Than Any Other Sport. This is by Baseball Doesn't Exist. Go and check out their channel. We've reacted to a few of their videos. Very good YouTube channel. Now, I would guess, if I'm going to have some guesses before we get into the video, I would say the obvious one to me is that there's more MLB games than any other sport, right? There's like 120 games in a year? Was it 160? 120? It was one of them two. So there's a lot of games. That's going to be my I guess, you know, that's what I'm going to go for, but we're going to find out. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Give the video a like, comment down below. Let's jump straight in. Let's go.
Last season, MLB sold more tickets than the NFL, NBA, and NHL combined. But if you look up MLB's attendance online, you will see article after article claiming MLB has attendance problems so bad it may kill the sport forever. But if MLB's attendance is so terrible, how come they're able to outsell pretty much every other sport on Earth? Is it because they do $1 hot dog promotions, even though they know fans are just going to end up throwing them at each other and onto the field? Is it because they have thousands of in-stadium bars and sell 16 million ounces of alcohol a year? Have pools in the stadium? Have hotels in the stadium? Let kids get free souvenirs. Let adults get free souvenirs. And even let you buy a pizza that is also a bacon cheeseburger. For the past century plus, MLB teams have tried pretty much everything to get people to show up to games, creating a certain fan experience that allows MLB to do what other sports can't. Get people who don't give a about baseball to still go to baseball games. MLB sells more tickets than any other sport. The biggest reason for this is because they have more games than any other sport, 2,430 a year. But this doesn't explain everything. The average MLB game outsells every single major sports league in the US except for the NFL. A big reason why is that going to a game is almost twice as cheap. You can buy a ticket to almost any regular season.
$253 for a ticket. Yo, we skip past this graph way too quick.
In the US, except for the NFL. A big reason why is that going to a game is...
So it's an average cost of a family of four non-premium tickets, 2 beers, 2 sodas, 4 hot dogs, 2 souvenir hats, and parking. Only 2 people are getting souvenir hats. That's not bad, really, for a family of 4, 253 if you're doing all that. I mean, I could divide that cost by 4 because I don't have kids. Maybe I'd take my girlfriend, so we half it. $125 for the 2 of us. Not too bad for an MLB game. 2 beers, maybe make that 6 beers. No sodas, maybe a couple of hot dogs in there.
Almost twice as cheap. You can buy a ticket to almost any regular season game for less than $10. There's no guarantee, however, it won't be the worst seat in the history of sports.
Not worth it,
you can get a ticket to the historic Fenway Park for only $19. Your seat will be blocked by a massive beam.
I'd rather not be there.
You can go to a game at Wrigley Field for only $9, but you won't be able to see anything. Or you can sit here, next to a statue of Bob Uecker. They are as far from the field as possible, and there is a massive pole blocking the field. These seats are $1, and they are the worst in sports. But they're also sold out every single game.
Sorry for pausing again, but that's a great idea for a YouTube video. I need to get to America, man. I sat in the worst sports seat in the whole of sports. That's a good YouTube video right there, $1. And I get a selfie with that little creepy statue.
Because at Miller Park and almost every other stadium, fans are free to buy a seat, then sit in another unoccupied seat in their section, or one of the many standing room only sections. If you're in Tampa, you don't have to sit in your seat. You can just pet the stingrays. In Kansas City, you can go to the movie theater inside the stadium. In St. Louis, you can go to the Build-A-Bear shop. In Arizona, you can watch in a pool. You can see how fast you pitch, how good you can hit, ride a zip line, or just drink at one of the many free admission bars at the stadium while still watching the game. The sheer amount of things you can do at an MLB game other than watch an MLB game has allowed MLB to consistently sell tickets to non-MLB fans. But how long will that last? MLB's average attendance has decreased every season for the past 9. 2022 saw the biggest drop in attendance since 2009. But should MLB actually be worried about this? In the 1960s, MLB saw a very similar trend, which led to games like this.
What is happening here? Chaos.
MLB was coming off a major decline in attendance, so owners like Bill Veeck started doing anything to attract fans. He installed the first electronic scoreboard that shot fireworks, put a shower for fans in the outfield, and employed one of the creepiest clowns ever. He found that if you turned a game into a party, people would show up no matter how bad the team was, and teams across the league followed. The Athletics had Hot Pants Night, where women got into the game for free as long as they were wearing shorts. The men who got tickets were given free cameras so they could take pictures of the women wearing shorts. The women were invited onto the field so a panel of judges could decide who had the best hot pants. 2,000 of them came onto the field to enter the contest. It got so out of hand, the A's had to hose them off the field so they could start the game. The Braves were so bad, they had a promotion that made it so that if you bought a ticket, you could use that same ticket as many times as you wanted until you actually went to a game they won. They also had a wet t-shirt contest and a promotion where the team owner, Ted Turner, raced on the back of an ostrich on the field during the game.
I respect
the
effort.
White Sox did Disco Demolition Night, a promotion that allowed anybody into the stadium for free if they brought a disco record to the game. The plan was to collect these records and demolish them in the outfield, killing disco once and for all. This attracted thousands of delinquents. They snuck into the stadium, climbed the walls into the upper deck, climbed the foul poles, threw records and toilet paper on the field. Security lost complete control and just started letting anybody in, and there were 67,000 people in a stadium that fit 50,000.
Yo, that's dangerous.
And they still exploded the records. Shortly after, 10,000 of them ran onto the field, stole the bases, dug up the turf, set a fire in center field, stole the batting cage, set that on fire,
this should be a whole
ran into the
documentary.
dugout and into the clubhouse until finally the riot police showed up. 39 people were arrested, 6 were injured, and the game was canceled. But it was a sellout. During this era, there was less security, cheaper alcohol, trash was constantly on the field and ignored by...
This is not the way I thought this video was going to go. I thought we were going to be given hardcore stats and facts.
Umpires. When a team won a big game, fans would rush the field, putting players in extreme danger. Turning games into a fun fest was a hit, as attendance exploded starting in the 70s. Right? It was also extremely dangerous. Since MLB has adapted, putting in security measures to prevent this, while also keeping the fan experiences that make baseball unique. But these can also be pretty dangerous. Baseball is the only sport where the boundary that separates in play and out of play is a wall. On the other side of that wall are fans. This not only creates a hazard for players, but also puts fans extremely close to the action. Players are constantly running into fans, spilling their food and drinks, creating an opportunity to steal their food and drinks, and accidentally touching them in places they shouldn't. Unlike football games where fans sit far away, hockey games where there is a thick layer of glass, or basketball games where sitting this close is reserved for the rich, MLB has hundreds of seats within a few rows of the playing field. For well under $100, you can be within inches of your favorite player, which is what this guy did. He loved Ichiro so much, he went to a game dressed like him. He even brought a bat and sat in the seat closest to Ichiro. Unfortunately, he wanted a ball so bad, he reached over and touched a fair one and was ejected from the game. And having this close-up access for cheap creates opportunities for people to scream things like this. Unlike other sports, there are thousands of fans within screaming distance and players who are forced to stand still for hours, making them a perfect target for hecklers who come to games just to scream at people, like this guy. He was so loud, he was heard on TV every single night. The Rays loved it. they gave him free tickets, engraved his name into his seat, and even put him in the team's commercials. There are hecklers at every game, and it's been accepted and promoted by baseball as a unique part of going to a game. But that doesn't mean players don't fight back, like Jock Peterson.
My view on hecklers is, as long as it's lighthearted, or not even lighthearted, as long as you don't bring like race or anything homophobic or anything like that, or anything like too personal. Don't talk about people's family or mums or like anything like that. It's fine. It's good fun. Players should be able to deal with it. They get paid enough money. As soon as it gets personal, or like one of those things I mentioned, shouldn't be allowed. The guy should be banned. But this, pants are looking a little tight. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Funny.
They were so relentless, Peterson had to call time to stare at them.
And the second the player gives into it, the more they're going to get it.
He hit a bomb, stared them down, then told them this.
That's how you deal with it.
If you want to scream at a professional athlete, MLB games are the best place to do it. Their policy has basically been screaming at players is okay unless it's too vulgar. And if players want to talk back, that's okay too, unless they take it too far. Like when Anthony Rendon grabbed one by the collar. He was suspended 10 games and lost $817,000 in salary. But the worst a heckler has ever been treated was almost 100 years ago. This fan showed up to games with his cousins. They would all sit in different sections so they could heckle as many players as they could. They would constantly harass their own team's players at every single Philadelphia A's game until one day the manager, Connie Mack, had one of them arrested, claiming he was running a heckling ring designed to sabotage the team. These hecklers tormented one guy so badly, despite being one of the team's best players, he could no longer play home games because that's how bad the taunts were getting to him. They had to trade him because of this, and the manager used it as evidence in court to keep the heckler in jail. The judge, a lifetime fan of the team, agreed and kept the man behind bars, setting a $500 bail. The opportunity to scream at players may help MLB a little, but sitting fans this close makes MLB millions of dollars for a completely different reason. Sports memorabilia is a $5.4 billion industry, and baseball makes up an insane 26% of it. A big reason for this is that memorabilia is constantly being given away. Since MLB players are so close to the fans, fans are allowed in the stadium during batting practices, and the sheer amount of game-used equipment used during a 162-game season. Players are constantly giving away bats, batting gloves, baseballs, and signing autographs 4 hours before games. This attracts a lot of mean adults who want these autographs too bad, but mostly younger fans, because getting autographs and game-used equipment for free at an MLB game is easier than any other sport by far. NFL prohibits fans from keeping balls that go into the stands, and even made it illegal for players to give fans game balls.
Why?
Every time they do, they get a $6,000 fine. In the NBA, any ball that goes in the stands has to be returned because they have a one-ball policy and only use one game ball for every game. MLB uses up to 120 balls in a single game, including batting practice. There is likely 100 balls.
So basketball has to be something to do with the air in the ball, right? It has to be the exact same, otherwise it's going to throw off players shooting. I guess that's going to be the reason. Baseball, it's probably easier to keep them very consistent because it's a harder material, right? I don't know if it's leather, but it's definitely a harder material. NFL, it's a bit crazy that it's a $6,000 fine for each ball that's lost.
End up with a fan.
But
back in the day, you weren't allowed to keep balls
care.
until the 20s when a fan caught a foul ball and refused to give it back. Even though the kid was 11 years old, the Phillies tried to make an example out of him, had him arrested, was charged with larceny, and had to spend a night in jail. This case eventually went to court, and the 11-year-old won, setting a precedent that allowed fans to keep foul balls. But as time went on, teams not only started allowing them to keep balls, they encouraged it. accidentally creating one of the best marketing tools in sports. There are only about 20 catchable balls in a game. A baseball that costs less than $10 to make becomes at least 5 times more valuable the second it's used in a game. This helps teams sell thousands of extra tickets every year because that's how much people love catching foul balls. Like this guy, who was seen at spring training in the outfield getting ready for every pitch like he was on the team, signaling how many strikes the batter had to the rest of the crowd, and when a lefty came to the plate, he sprinted all the way to the right field bleachers just so he had a better chance of catching a home run ball. According to some fans and news outlets, in a different game in Kansas City, he was seen taking a ball out of a young man's glove after he caught the home run next to him. This video went viral, and the Royals eventually made it right by giving the kid free autographed baseballs and every bobblehead they had given out that season. And this happens all the time. The cardinal sin of going to a game is getting a ball as an adult right next to a kid and not giving the kid the ball. When this happens, you are bound to go viral and be roasted by the entire world, like these fans who not only got a ball, made a kid cry by not giving.
Honestly, this one here, let me just show this one.
You are bound to go viral and be.
This one, it's weird because some of them are funny, some of them are just straight up mean. This one's funny, right? Because he didn't really steal it. He got a clean catch in there. He just got there first. The ones where like both people are making contact and they snatch it out of the hand and stuff like that, that's way too far, man. Way too far. This one is just kind of tickles me because the way he just like casually swoops in, grabs it, and just walks off.
Roasted by the entire world, like these fans who not only got a ball, made a kid cry by not giving it to them, but took a picture with the ball right in front of the kid's face. Unfortunately, these videos are often taken out of context, and the people who the entire internet call losers are actually not that bad. Like these people who, according to the kid's family, never saw the kid, was extremely nice, and the kid got a ton of free stuff because of them. But the many other examples of people stealing balls from each other just shows how bad people want these foul balls. People are constantly spilling food, spilling beer on their kids, falling onto the field to play, getting nailed in the face, constantly touching balls that are fair and getting thrown out of the game for doing it, and fighting over foul balls and home runs that go into the stands. This fan even jumped into the center field fountain to get this home run ball. He was successful. Unfortunately, he was thrown out of the game. Despite the insane lengths fans go to catch these balls, they will also often throw them back onto the field. A tradition that started in 1969 after Hank Aaron hit his 521st home run. As a nice gesture, the fan who caught it tried to meet Aaron after the game to gift him the ball. Hank Aaron blew him off. This fan held this grudge forever, and the very next year, he caught another Hank Aaron home run and threw it back onto the field. This has become a tradition at Wrigley Field ever since and has spread across the league. When the opposing team hits a home run, you're supposed to throw it back. Originally, fans would collect money. The Cubs players in the bullpen would sign baseballs and use it to bribe fans to throw these balls back onto the field. Sometimes this results in people throwing the balls back onto the field an inning later, like this Yankees fan who did it and accidentally hit his own player in the back of the head. A fan in Fenway threw one so far, it hit the guy who hit the home run while he was running the bases. In certain parts, if you don't throw it back, the entire section will scream at you until you do. It doesn't matter if you're a toddler, you're guilted to get rid of the ball.
You gotta learn while
like
you're young.
This kid, whose dad made him do it. He did it and immediately regretted it. Or this guy who was peer pressured so hard, he threw the ball back even though every bone in his body wanted to keep the ball. At least he got $100 for doing it. But no instance was worse than this one in Philadelphia, after Luis Ariz hit a home run to complete a cycle. The first ever cycle in Marlins history. This makes the ball valuable, so the fan wanted to keep it, but the entire crowd started screaming at him to give the ball to a kid. He didn't want to, but after the kid grabbed at it long enough, he couldn't resist. The fans then made the kid...
See, this one, if the kid's going to throw it back, it's fine. But this one, like, the guy caught him, like, look, here he's battling with two other grown adults. I can't even see that girl in the pink. Where's she? She's just got a loud family, most likely, who've just got involved, and then people have rallied behind it.
a cycle.
But why
The
does that kid
first
deserve
ever
that ball?
cycle in Marlins history. This makes the ball valuable,
Maybe,
so the
'cause I
fan
don't have
wanted
a kid,
to
I
keep
see it
it.
differently.
But the entire crowd started screaming at him to give the ball to a kid. He didn't want to, but after the kid grabbed at it long enough, he couldn't resist. The fans then made the kid throw the ball back onto the field.
it's okay
A
then.
historic ball like this normally results in a team official approaching the fan and giving them free autographs, tickets,
Nice,
a chance
that's
to
a
meet
good
the
move.
player in exchange for the ball. Other balls are worth a lot more, have made fans multi-millionaires, and have caused wars,
What?
lawsuits, and chaos in the bleachers, because they can change people's entire lives. Like this fan who caught Mark McGwire's record-breaking 70th home run of 1998. He was a research scientist who made 30 grand a year, meaning that this ball was worth 100 times his annual
That's
salary.
crazy, man.
The Cardinals offered him an autographed jersey, an autographed ball, and an autographed bat in exchange for the ball.
No.
And the man actually agreed, under one condition. He got to meet McGwire and give the ball to him himself. Unfortunately, McGwire declined to meet the fan, so instead he kept the ball, and a few months later, sold it for over $3 million.
Well, why is the baseball player refusing to meet him? That's a bit odd. The guy's trying to give you your ball. Well done for getting $3 million.
The most expensive baseball of all time. In 1976, Hank Aaron hit his 755th home run. There were 2 more months left in the season and plenty of time for him to hit more. So at the time, this ball was basically worthless. 2 months later, Aaron hadn't hit a single home run since. And after the last out of the season, his 755th home run was now his last home run and the home run record.
Keep hold of those
meaning
balls.
this ball went from being worthless to being worth hundreds of thousands of dollars overnight. The man who had the ball was a part-time groundskeeper for the Brewers and held on to it. The team forced him to give the ball back, saying it was their property, but he refused.
Yeah, good on
He
ya.
was immediately fired, but it didn't matter because he ended up selling the ball for $650,000. This man wasn't so lucky. He caught Albert Pujols' last home run, which was estimated to be worth $250 grand. But because of one mistake, the ball is now worthless. The man traveled from Illinois for a chance to make this catch. He made the catch. There is video
What are the
evidence
chances?
of him catching it, and the broadcast interviewed him right after. However, he left the stadium without getting it authenticated. So, he has no proof the ball is real. The man says nobody from MLB approached him to authenticate it. He tried to find someone to authenticate it, but couldn't. And even if he hadn't left, the authenticator said he could only prove it was a game-used ball, but not the home run ball, because once it leaves the field of play, they don't know for sure if the ball is legit. So this ball that should have been worth 250 grand is now worthless.
That's tough.
There are more foul balls, autograph opportunities, and chances to get rich from in-game memorabilia than ever. All of them are great for attendance, but the numbers say MLB attendance is down. But here's why they're not worried. Even with attendance being down the last 9 seasons, zooming out on the timeline, you can see they're still on an upward trajectory. Today's attendance is higher than it was throughout the 90s, and the team with the worst attendance in 2022 still had more fans per game than any team in 1933, a year when Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig played together. A new stadium typically
They must
brings
make a lot of
an
TV money
insane
as well, right?
32 to 37%
Yo.
increase in attendance, with a bump that lasts up to 10 years. During the 16-season span from 1991 to 2007, there were 15 new stadiums. Since 2007, there have only been 7. This alone may explain the decline. This season, MLB is switching to a new schedule with more interleague games that result in a 7% increase in attendance. The worst attended team is moving to a new city with a new stadium, and the early numbers suggest attendance is already up in 2023. So MLB is pretty confident this trend will stop soon, but even if it doesn't, they still play 2,430 games a year
Crazy.
and will sell more tickets than any other sport. So they don't seem to be too.
Okay, guys, that is the end of the video. That is why more people go to MLB games than any other sport in the world. It was kind of what I guessed right at the start. There's just more games than anything else. But then also these antics going on at the field, the chance to make yourself a millionaire. the chance to go and see some scary, creepy clowns, to go and burn some disco records, to go and see some women in some hot pants. What more can you want? What more can you want? If you did enjoy the video, please do subscribe, give the video a like, comment down below. This is a more entertaining video than I anticipated, which was it's always good. It's always good. I'll see you for the next one, guys. Take it easy. Peace.